episode 21 with Christian and Shane.
Is it already episode 21?
Already episode 21.
Cool.
It's a Thursday night here in the Books and Brewskies studio. I always like looking at the back wall to remind ourselves where we came from.
This isn't the wall we came from. The wall we came from was in a different room in this house.
Where we came from? Or where I came from?
Where you came from?
No.
No, it wasn't in this house.
It was from camping.
Oh, God.
Drinking Coors Light.
Nobody wants to know where Shane came from.
Anyways, we got Coors Light and Coors Banquet on the show. We did a little talk about the competition of the light beer versus the banquet beer.
Really bad conversation with Shane and I.
That was nice.
It was... What's the difference? I don't know.
We said water versus why?
Coors Light is 2 parts water, 1 part banquet beer. Banquet Coors
is 2 parts banquet.
Is 2 part banquets, 1 part water. But most of all, it's filtered cold, it's brewed cold, and made with Rocky Mountain cold water.
Straight from the river.
It's also shipped cold, and delivered cold, and drank cold.
It stays cold.
And it stays cold. If the mountains are blue, you got a cold Coors Light.
And if they aren't blue,
you got a warm Coors Light.
It's still a cold Coors Light. And by the way, we talked about if you say Coors,
you just said
unfollow us right now.
Coors?
If you say Coors, it is not Coors.
It's Coors, but don't
Coors.
unfollow us.
You can unfollow us, it's okay.
No.
Yeah.
Go drink it.
It is Coors, okay? Come from Colorado. Please listen to how they say it.
And if you don't like Coors, go drink a Keystone and fuck off. It's like
do not say Coors. We do not support those words around here.
Talladega Nights. If you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
Basically.
If you say Coors, then fuck you.
Basically. Then you can get out of this.
Have you ever watched the outtakes of Talladega Nights and seen all the random off commercials that didn't make it in the movie?
No.
There's a whole other Big Red one. And
really?
Will Ferrell gets up there and he's like, hey, they used to call me Big Red, but then I started chewing America's #1 cinnamon gum, and I told him to stop it.
Stop it.
There's only one Big Red. America's #1 cinnamon gum.
I like that. I like it. Well, go ahead and tell them a little about the beer over there, Christian.
Tonight we're drinking Coors Banquet.
One of the Rockies' existence
Coors Light
since 1978.
It's brewed in Coors, Colorado. It's brewed in Golden, Colorado with, I already said this,
with love.
Rocky Mountain cold water.
And love.
The water's harvested cold. It's brought to the brewery cold. The beer's brewed cold. It's then shipped to your store cold, and then it's stored cold in the cooler.
Is that all you have to say?
And then
cool.
It probably gets warm a little bit on the way home.
But then you chug it right when you get home.
And then you put it back in the fridge and make it cold until the mountains turn blue. It's also known as the silver bullet.
The silver bullet. That's right.
You know what my favorite Coors is? When you go to the Grizzly Rose and you get a Coors original in the little I forget what those bottles are called.
Small little
the
bottles.
The bottles.
The chodes.
I don't know if that's what they are, but sure.
Yeah, basically. Little baby bottles. I forgot what they're called,
I'm
but
gonna look it up.
They are nice. The stubs. They're little stubs.
That actually is...
I think it's a stub bottle.
I'm looking it up because I don't know.
If anyone doesn't know what the Grizzly Rose is.
Oh, it's a Steiny.
Steiny.
Or a Stubby.
Stubby.
I think that's right.
A stub. That's what I said.
Yeah. Original.
The Grizzly Rose, though, is a country bar here in Colorado. A lot of famous musicians have gone through the Grizzly Rose. Great bar.
Eric Church got one of his more known concerts before he was big. He played at the Rose.
Yeah, it's
and then
pretty much everyone.
Before Eric Church started filling stadiums, I saw him as an opener to Kenny Chesney. That's insane to think that Eric Church. I mean, it's cool. Like he was an opener for somebody else that didn't like nobody like really like everybody like listened to Eric Church.
Now he's headliner at Cheyenne Frontier Days. And if you don't go to Cheyenne Frontier Days, you can also
fuck off. Cheyenne Frontier Days got canceled.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Which is dumb.
But it makes sense. I'm not trying to get
next year. It's same lineup.
Eric Church got rescheduled next year. I'm just gonna buy a different ticket next year because I got my refund because I wanted the money back right now and I'm waiting for this year. Well,
selfish.
Sorry, maybe I wanted to put it into the stock market.
Yeah. Stocks right now though. You're kind of at that level. I don't know. It's a weird market right now.
Yeah. All right. Well. Sorry for listening to us ramble for 15 minutes. That's the entire show. We'll talk to you later. I'm just joking. So if you listened last week, we are reading, or listening to, I guess, on Audible, the book Relentless
by Tim
Grover.
So, not funny story. I mean, when I was listening to the book, I'm already like 5 chapters in. It's
I'll be honest.
It's definitely a good book. He's got a lot of good stuff. Yes, we know you're listening to David Goggins.
I'm listening to David Goggins right now.
I know everyone loves David Goggins and it really fires you up. He doesn't really motivate me, honestly.
Well,
I think he's
a
badass, but he doesn't motivate me.
Well,
that's just
you're wrong.
My perspective.
That's fine.
But he does got a lot of good insight.
Shane's motivated by Tim Tebow.
No. Motivated by myself.
And but he means by himself, he means alone in his room.
a picture of me on the ceiling.
Alright, well, anyhow, back to Relentless by Tim Grover.
In, I think it was his first chapter or his second chapter. Did you know? So this is what he starts kind of off with. He was a trainer, like we were, in Chicago. He lived in Chicago. He was in like a Chicago, basically, almost rec center, almost. It was just like a little gym.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he was watching like Michael Jordan and stuff like that, and he was watching all these big name players, and he sent in, like, kept calling the Bulls and was like, hey, like, let me have an interview, let me get in there, give me a chance, opportunity, whatever. They never called back, they didn't do all this. Watched more games, saw what was going on, everything like that, tried again, multiple. He just kept trying. And eventually, they finally got back to him. And he was like, I never would have thought a guy like me who was just a trainer, and he did have his master's degree, but he was like, just a trainer that was just training at like a club gym would get an opportunity to get an interview with them. So anyways, he got an interview with them, with like the sports doctor there and everything like that. And he said it went well, and then he was like, yeah, left. Week later, whatever, he got another call, and they wanted a second interview, and he's like, oh, sweet, like, I can get another interview. And he was like, well, maybe it's in front of, like, all the staff now and everything like that.
Yeah.
His second interview was actually with Michael Jordan at Michael Jordan's house. And Michael Jordan, this time, didn't have a trainer at all.
Yeah.
And that's what he kept saying was, like, if Michael Jordan already had, if he wanted a trainer, he would have already had a trainer right now.
Yeah.
So he ended up going there, and he talks about, he went through this kind of whole little detailed plan to him and said, hey, this is what I can do for you nutrition-wise, this is what I can do for you, like, mentally, physically, everything like that. And basically, like, showed him, like, a 30-day program, everything like that. And Michael told him, he's like, yeah, it looks all great on paper, but it won't fucking work. That's what he basically told him. And he was like, well, look, you give me one chance, okay? Give me 30 days. Let me try this program. If it doesn't work, move on. And Michael Jordan finally like gave in. I was like, okay, let's try it. After those 30 days, he was like, we spent those 30 days together, and then after that, I was with him for 12 years. and he was like, it's just crazy to see you get that opportunity to be able to show what you've been working for basically your whole life at that high level and say, hey, I have this opportunity. Let me now show it to like the world.
Yeah.
He got the opportunity, made the most of his opportunity. Now, you got to train one of the best basketball players, if not the best, basically.
In my opinion, the best.
The best basketball player.
But after watching
yes, the best basketball player to ever play. And it's just crazy because when you get to hear those stories on people who work their life and try to perfect like the biggest and the best that they can become, and then sometimes those people never get those opportunities, but then when those opportunities actually arise, do you put yourself in that situation to actually overcome, failure? Can you make success out of those opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's crazy, like hearing that story that he, was able to do that. And he just talked a lot about how that mental side on what we kind of talked about, the cleaners and
I've got pulled
the
up
closers, the
right here.
cleaners.
Cooler, closer, and cleaner.
Cooler, closer, and cleaner.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about this cleaner, and he said Michael Jordan was the only person he knew that was 100% a cleaner 100% of the time. And he talks how the mindset of a cleaner is, it's crazy how he goes through, but a lot of, there's just so much like he goes through, and it's tough to put into words, but basically he talks about with the cleaner, how the mindset is you have to, he tries to relate it to like just real life too, but in their sports he related it to when you go into like a game, you should feel no emotion.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, as a sports, because he was basically a sports psychologist, he was like, as a sports psychologist, to be able to go into a game and have no emotion. He's like, I'm not a big part about those guys who like show up pre-game and try to get all razzled up and everything and like going and yelling and all this. He's like, you want to see the true ones? Like watch when Kobe was playing, watch when like, Michael Jordan and stuff like that, when they can go in their corner, do what they need to do and focus on themselves and not think and just open up their mind and say, okay, like trust in their instincts. And it's just crazy how when you get to that optimal like performance level that players are able to hone into that feeling and say, all right, I got to shut everything out and then play their greatest games where they just let instincts take over.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about that, which is, it's true. And we kind of like mentioned that where when you're overthinking things, you're not letting your natural ability take over that you've practiced on over and over and over, your craft that you worked on and everything. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, my mind's just kind of whirling right now. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other players that you can think of that would be one of those guys. And I think you look into the NFL. You got Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Roethlisberger, Rodgers, Marino, Elway, Montana. Like the guys in the league that you could put the ball in their hands and they would just go win a game for you. And it's the same thing in the NBA. You got Dwayne Wade, LeBron. I don't know if I want to throw Melo in there, but I'm gonna throw Melo in there. MJ, Curry, like those guys that you just trust with the ball. And Durant, who was Durant's buddy there for a little bit in Oklahoma? I don't pay that. Westbrook, Harden.
Yeah.
Shaq at times in his career. Like you look to those guys to be your dudes that you can just be like, here's the ball, go. Right?
Yeah.
I think, as a normal person, you have to be able to find that in a different way. Because you can't just go put a ball in your hands and then go score 50 points in a game. To be one of those guys, like the guy, you have to like put your ball in your hands in a different way. Like take control of your situation and fucking finish.
Well, he talks about that, how he says a cooler who is just good will be the one who kind of instigates, will be the one who,
Yeah.
hey, if there's 1 second on the clock, he would be the one to try to pass it
Yeah.
to have them shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or assist it.
Yeah.
What's the other one? I keep forgetting. Cooler,
cleaner, and
cleaner. Closer. The closer, right,
Yeah.
is a great player who will take the shot and hope for the best. And then the cleaner, he talks about how, and he says this, he's like, the cleaner takes the shot, trusts his instincts, has no doubt,
Yeah.
just shoots it.
They just
Doesn't
go-
think about
they
anything.
go.
They just shoot it.
Tiger Woods in golf.
Yeah.
Arnold Palmer in golf.
Arnold Paul.
Mickelson.
Yeah.
Nicholas. Like, you gotta think of the guys that just fucking can close shit out,
Yeah.
right?
But it's not even just about, it is winning, but it's also, and results, like he talks a lot, like results are definitely everything.
It's a, if you look, I'm gonna bring David Goggins into this, but like in his book, for example, he talks about like, callousing your mind,
Yeah.
right? These guys callous their mind to the point where they wouldn't allow outside factors to penetrate their mind. Like, oh shit, I don't know if I can make this shot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can close this out. Right? You think like when we look back at the Mamba mentality, that book, right? Kobe would go work out in the gym at 4 a.m. That's callous in your mind, because that's a mental game right there. It's like a lot of people don't want to be awake at 3:30 a.m. to go into the gym at 4 or 5 or whatever it is and put up 250 shots or whatever you'd put up in practice, right?
Yeah.
Guys like that, it's a mentality, and the mentality is what's going to take you to a higher level than anything else, because the mentality in the callous mind and the focused brain and just having a locked-in mindset can take you so much further than just being like a talk guy. If I were to look at like NBA guys, I'd consider like Carmelo Anthony a closer, but he's not a cleaner.
Yeah.
Because Melo, you can trust him to take a shot. Or like J.R. Smith, you can trust him to take a shot, but they're not cleaners. They're not the dude.
Yeah. Well, it's also what you bring to the table in general as a person. It's not just like, you can be great and there's nothing wrong with being great.
Yeah.
But if you want to be unstoppable, you have to take your mental aspect and your mentality to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like, and you know that, and this was kind of one thing he was saying, it kind of got me, how there's kind of certain things that you can only be unstoppable at, and it's tough because he's like, when you want to be unstoppable in something, it's all your efforts and all your mindset goes into that one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else kind of around you have to sacrifice, right? And he talked a lot about this of, you can be unstoppable in this, and then you realize you're going to have to sacrifice like some relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to sacrifice this time. And you can maybe only be good in this realm, but over here you can be unstoppable in this area. And it's crazy because it's hard, and he says it's hard to be great at everything. So you have to almost pick and choose, what do you want to do and how do you want to go about it, because you're not going to be able to handle this and that and this and that and try to be unstoppable at everything that you get in your life. And I think that's what's tough. I mean, even when we talk about it of, right, I talk about being great at work, but also having other hobbies that you love, but also like saying, can I deal with a relationship that I love with somebody? Can I deal with my family? Can I deal with my friends? Like, how do you compartment everything in different areas and say, what do I want to be the best at, and what am I going to lack in other areas? And that's what's tough, is finding that like equilibrium of, if you're a cleaner, the issue about a cleaner is that you're always going to want more out of something. And you will die always trying to get something more.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because he talked about this, how like he especially just talks about professional athletes because he worked with them, and he talks about that's why when people leave the game, they're done and they can't put any more towards it because they know if they do, they're going to want to keep trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about that with athletes of like when athletes die twice, it's because you lose something that you've worked so hard at that you don't know what you're going to work hard at again.
Yeah.
But once you find that, then it kind of changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's that kind of like feeling as if you're a cleaner, it's a tough life. And we talked a little bit about that with Ethan.
Yeah.
With entrepreneur and stuff like that. Like, it's a life that you choose that is not,
Yeah.
it's not very comforting. And you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says that a lot too. And
You have to be in any situation, and you got to think about it in terms of like outside of like work or whatever, and like just at your house. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? You can't fall back into like what you know, because when you're comfortable, you always fall back to like the easiest thing. Like you experience something hard, you just fall back to whatever it was that's easy. And that's something a lot of people, and myself included, need to get their ass out of, because if you fall back into what you're comfortable in, you're never going to progress forward or push yourself forward to the next level that you could be, right?
oh yeah.
And so overall, I think it's important for people to realize that they're falling back into a comfort zone or breaking out of a comfort zone, because it's going to push them either deeper or further along than what they would have been had they stayed in their comfort zone, right? You could go either way. You could go deeper in your comfort zone and get completely screwed over, or you can push yourself out of it further and create a new comfort zone, right? Then push yourself out of that and create a new comfort zone, because then you're constantly progressing to something, the next greatest thing.
Yeah. And and he mentions that a lot, is that's part of being a cleaner, is getting uncomfortable, and then once you're comfortable with that, getting uncomfortable again, and then once you're comfortable with that, getting uncomfortable again. So it's like changing your routine all the time, because you're consistently trying to get better.
Yeah, well, I mean,
right?
look at it when we lift, right? You can't squat 225.
Yeah,
you do one rep a day, 225 forever. Yeah. You're gonna get stronger right away, just because you're shocked your body gets to 225. It's like, okay, I'm squatting 225 for one rep, one set every day.
Yeah.
But after about 5 days, your body's gonna get used to that 225 just for one rep.
Well, yeah, and he brings up he's like, I think it's so funny how these salespeople will try to bring in this factor of like this exercise program. Hey, lose this or do this, and he talks about, if you're a freaking couch potato and you go and exercise 3 times a week for a couple of weeks and you see all these results, he's like, of course you haven't done shit before, but he's like, you know what the hardest thing is?
Continuing to go.
No, he was like, you know what the hardest thing is when you're at that absolute top level, how do you get to another step from that level?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you can say that with anything. Like, let's say you're at a top in a business, or you're at a top in like or let's say you're at a lift and you're maximizing your body.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the hell do I get 15 more pounds when I'm like at the absolute peak
Ask
of
all
what
the
I'm
baseball
doing?
players from the 90s.
Yeah. The roids.
PEDs.
But that's basically how he says it. So, and I've thought of it different ways, because I actually had a conversation with this. I don't know if it was with you, but as a trainer, how some trainers take, I think it was with you. Some trainers will take like the good athletes, and they'll be like, oh, look, these athletes are good,
Yeah, I remember that
and it's easier. And then I'm like, hey, I'll take some of the athletes that are not good and then watch them progress.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hand in hand, because he talks about like, when you do have someone who hasn't worked as hard as and isn't as good in their, their realm, they're gonna see results fast, right?
Yeah.
Because they haven't done as much. Then you show them in this more perfected way. All of a sudden, they're gonna jump up, and then you get these really top end athletes that are like already close to perfect in their game.
Yeah.
How do you get them to get to that next level?
Yeah.
Now the issue, so I've argued like I'm okay with working with some of the lesser athletes and build them up and try to get them into a huge improvement.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like a higher end athlete, what I'm saying is some trainers get comfortable with training a higher end athlete
Yeah.
and don't really progress them much.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you get that top end athlete, a professional athlete, and progress them more to what they're already at when they're at the highest level?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And he talks a lot about that is that's a challenge to him, but that's also a challenge being a cleaner, is when you're in the highest known level in the world, how do you make another higher?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And those were arguments where, you know, at one point no one could run a 4-minute mile. And it was always argued that mechanically as a human, no one will ever be able to run a
It's not
4-minute mile,
capable.
and then it gets broken.
And then it
And
gets
then
broken.
it's
And then it's
broken.
broken.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
broken.
And that's just how life is.
Yeah.
It's impossible until someone does it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what? I
Yeah.
thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
Until someone does it.
Nothing's
So,
impossible until somebody. Things are impossible, then somebody does it, then nothing's impossible.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
nothing's
just
impossible
crazy.
if you want to chase it hard enough.
It's crazy.
I mean, granted, certain things are definitely impossible. Like, you can't fly, but build an airplane, you could fly. So I guess it's not impossible.
but that's what I'm saying. Or you wear one of those little squirrel things.
Oh, like the wingsuits?
Yeah. Those are
Yeah, then
sick.
you think it like, but then you gotta think of like, I don't know why I just popped in my head, but Buzz Lightyear, like he's a toy, he can't fly, but he tries to fly, and then his arm pops off.
And then he does.
No,
No,
he
it's
becomes
okay.
Mrs. Nisbet. Have you not seen Toy Story?
I don't remember.
The first one, I forget whose house they're in. They might be in Andy's house. Not Andy, Sid. They might be in Sid's house. And Buzz thinks he can fly out a window.
Yeah.
And he jumps off the
yeah.
thing, and he falls to the ground, and his wing pops out, and his arm pops off. And then he's playing with Sid's sister, and he's Mrs. Nisbet. And he's like all high.
I remember.
Yeah.
So that
I don't know
that's
why.
your argument. You can't be Buzz Lightyear.
You can't be Buzz
Lightyear.
Lightyear.
Can't fly, so you can't fly. Basically, is what Christian just said.
I don't know why that popped in my head.
But
Super random tangent.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that you would say that aren't impossible, humanly impossible. But
Here's
you know,
the
it's
question
crazy.
for you.
But
Does
you
Tom
say
Brady,
that
does
we
Tom
say it
Brady
every
play till
10
he's
years.
45? Is it impossible for Tom Brady, a guy that you look at as a closer, a dude
No,
that knows
it's
how to
not
grind
impossible.
it, will he play at a high level till he's 45, or does he decline? Like, does that guy continue at the highest level? Does he continue to work his ass off, right, and find the next level, the next level, the next level, the next level at age 42, 43, 44, 45, to continue playing at a high level and take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Super Bowl? I personally don't think so. That's just me being biased. I like the Broncos. But with that being said,
I think he can.
but what about, like, look at Michael Jordan? Was he still MJ when he played with the Warriors when he came back out of retirement? This second time, right? Second time? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't watch a ton of basketball, but
I'm just like
but what I'm saying is,
rhetorically, like,
what I'm saying
questioning
is some
thought.
people. It's funny because we played football at a high level. Age is tough because people age differently, of course, how they take care of their body.
Yeah.
And if you take care of your body enough, like, you can play when you're old in football. Now, position matters a lot. Tom Brady's a QB. QBs can get away. He's a pocket QB. He doesn't even run around really.
It's true.
Right?
Maybe
You
once
can
a
get
game.
away. He could literally maybe be 50 years old and still still play.
Yeah.
It's just how he's going to mentally take care of himself, physically take care of himself.
Yeah.
And if nothing, catastrophic happens where, someone
Yeah.
falls on his leg
Yeah.
and breaks it or something like that. Like if he's able to withstand that, yeah, I think you can play at a high level at that.
You're gonna
It's
have
different.
some New England Patriots fans mad, or not New England, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans mad at you that you just put the break the leg, Tom
Yeah.
Brady thought out into the air of the world.
Go break your leg. It's more of a figure of speech,
I'm not used to him being in Tampa Bay. I just realized
But-
how weird that is.
I think, like I said, it all just depends, and I think people can really, shock the world with that. I think Brady could sit there and maybe be the first QB like ever to get to 50 if he really wanted
Has
to.
an NFL player ever been 50 years old?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Hold on, we're gonna look this up.
But
Oldest.
it's just it's all different for different sports, right? As a running back, you can't do that. You just get beat up too much.
Okay, so here's your answer to this question. George Blanda. George Blanda retired from playing professional football at the age of 48, which makes Blanda the oldest NFL quarterback ever.
Nice. Tom Brady, I think, could beat that if he really wanted to.
Yeah, but did this dude play?
But it depends if you want to and if you're willing to.
Mm-hmm.
Not always. Some people just don't want to have that drive to do it anymore.
From what it looks like, George Blanda played in the NFL from 1949 to 1975.
Nice.
Sorry, just random facts, but
Nice. But
in
like I said,
1950,
that
he
just
played
depends
for
on
two
you
teams.
on the position too.
Yeah.
And basketball is a physical sport also, definitely a lot more, endurance wise and
Mhm.
beating on your legs and everything like that.
Yeah.
But so that's harder to be older to play that. So it just depends on your sport that
Mhm.
you could sit there and do that, but I don't know, we'll have to see. We'll have to see with it. But I think if you have the right mentality, you can do a lot more things than a lot of people
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. The mentality is huge.
Mentality is everything.
Mentality is so big when it comes to just every day. Like, do you get your ass out of bed at 4 a.m. or not? Do you lay in bed for the extra 5 minutes? I know I personally lay in bed for an extra 5 to 20 minutes every morning when I should just get my ass up. And then I regret it because I don't eat breakfast. Well, the breakfast that I would have wanted to eat.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't have gotten, I always tell myself I'm going to get my dog out to go walk at 4 a.m. I usually end up staying in bed until 4:30 and then getting out of bed and leaving to go to work. But
No.
not gonna happen. Sorry, Tycho. But mentality's huge. It applies to absolutely everything you do. That's just the end all be all is mentality. Are you gonna be a strong minded person or you're gonna be weak as fuck?
Yeah.
Should I do another build once last week?
Well,
I wonder if that scared anybody.
definitely scared some people. Scared me.
Oh.
I was like, shit. But yeah. Well, you got any other remarks?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Coors. Not course. Coors.
Coors, not cool. Alright. Everyone hear it?
Have a great
You
week.
heard it here. You heard it here. Have a great week.
Do great things.
It's gonna be a good week. 4th of July is coming up. Probably have a
Dude,
guest
June-
next
dude,
week too, and we're
dude.
gonna party.
June's flying by.
Always does, man.
And on that
Always does.
July
I'm ready
4th.
for the lakes. And we're gonna have our little beer videos. Definitely for the lakes with the boys. Drinking beer.
We're gonna do a
And
beer.
doing-
We're gonna do a beer review on
Nudie jet ski runs.
no. We're this coming next, at least in the next 2 months. We're gonna do a beer review while wakeboarding.
Hell yeah.
We'll see if I'm even fucking skilled enough to get up on a
I'm
board.
ready for Lake Powell. Houseboat
We got
podcast.
a couple months
Lake
away.
Powell. It's happening.
We're gonna podcast on the wake boat in the middle of the lake at 2 a.m.
Can I get
Hi.
a fire?
No. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to Books and Brewskies, episode number 21.
Goodbye. And we have a Twitter now. Follow us on Twitter.
This episode is brought to you by Shane.
And goldfish. The snack that's all that.
Goodbye.